Wonderful. We're just letting in people. Wonderful. Welcome to Afternoon Tea. I'm Dr. Linda, emergency medicine physician from Sheffield, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Dr. Erica, a GP from the West Midlands, and we are both lifestyle medicine physicians. In the chat below, do let us know where you're tuning in from and what is your favorite hot cup of tea. We have wonderful news today, actually. We have partnered with the Dandelion Seeds Foundation to bring the prestigious Complete Health Improvement Program completely free of charge for the residents of the West Somerset and Taunton Deane area in the UK. If you are from that area, you can now sign up on our website to start your journey to healing from chronic diseases completely free of charge. This 10-week program is starting this week on the 17th of May at 7:30 p.m. We host afternoon tea every single Sunday at 5 p.m. UK time, where you can connect with world-renowned experts, and we share 3 actionable takeaways that you can implement in your life right away to start achieving your health goals. You can chat directly with our guest experts here on Zoom, or follow us on live stream via Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're ready to implement your life goals, join our free membership on our website to be part of our supportive community to set you up for success.
We are focusing on metabolic diseases in May and June, and today we have the incredible Dr. Klaper join us for afternoon tea to talk to us about our heart health. Michael Klaper, MD, is a graduate of the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Chicago. He has practiced acute care medicine in Hawaii, Canada, California, Florida, and New Zealand, and for the past 35 years has been focusing upon health-promoting food and lifestyle choices to help reverse disease and prevent the need for hospitalization and surgery. A longtime radio host and a pilot, Dr. Klaper has served as nutrition advisor to NASA's programs for space colonists on the Moon and Mars. On his website, drklaper.com, visitors can find practical insights into nutrition and healthy living through his numerous articles and videos, as well as subscribe to his free newsletter, Medicine Capsule. Along with an active telemedicine practice, Dr. Klaper's passion and professional focus is his Moving Medicine Forward initiative to incorporate the teaching of applied nutrition into medical school education worldwide. Welcome, Dr. Klaper.
Welcome, Dr. Klaper.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to be with you and your audience. What a wonderful event this is. I really enjoy being here.
Thank you so much. And we have heard these incredible life achievements, but I would love to start from the very, very beginning in 1947. What made Dr. Klaper who he is today?
Oh my, well, my loving parents gave me a sane, stable childhood. In the 1950s, every summer, the big polio epidemics would roar through the cities of North America. And my mother had an uncle with a dairy farm in Wisconsin. And so every summer they would whisk us out of the city up to the dairy farm. And so I spent my first 14 summers on a dairy farm, driving tractors and milking cows and slinging hay bales, and got exposed to the natural world. And my life was filled with animals and deers and salamanders and thunderstorms. And the natural world became so vivid to me and the life force in so many forms. I'm certain that's where my desire to go into a biological science came from. And I was the kid on the farm that wanted everything to be okay. All my relatives, my cousins and my brother, and if there was an injured animal, I wanted to make sure it was okay. And so my early physicianhood started developing on the farm, I'm sure. And when I would go back to Chicago for the winters, biology and all the sciences just made so much sense to me. It was just music to me. That there was no question that I wanted to become a physician, and was fortunate enough to do so.
Amazing. Yes, definitely farms are a wonderful place for a child to experience all the growth, self-growth, and appreciation for nature.
Mhm.
And once you had become a doctor, was it clear to you that you wanted to go down a certain path from the beginning?
No, it wasn't. I thought I was going to be a blood and guts emergency room doctor. And for the first 9 years of my practice, that's exactly what I did. I took postgraduate training in surgery and anesthesia and obstetrics. And for the first 9 years, I lived in emergency rooms and operating rooms and did acute care medicine. But several things drove me out of that. None of my patients were getting healthier. They were all getting more obese, and I'm seeing them every month and raising their dosage of metformin and beta blockers. And then I get that call from the emergency room that Joe had a stroke, and they were saying, "What can I do, doctor?" I didn't know what to tell them. And so much so I left general practice and went into anesthesia. I was going to be an anesthesiologist. At least you're telling the patients what to do. Lay down there, count to 10, and at least I had some answers then. But two things happened. One, I was on the cardiovascular anesthesia service at Vancouver General Hospital in Vancouver, BC. And day after day, I'm putting patients to sleep and watching surgeons open their chest and open their coronary arteries and pull this yellow, greasy guck out of their arteries called atherosclerosis, as you know, causing heart attacks and strokes. And there were already studies in the literature saying that this can be reversed by a plant-based diet. Dr. Frey Ellis had published his studies. And my dad died of clogged arteries. I know I've got those genes, and I knew that if I kept on eating my burgers and pizzas and steaks, I was going to wind up on that operating table with that striker saw going up my sternum, and I sure didn't want that. I saw those people when they woke up. They were very uncomfortable. So I was getting messages from the operating room to change to a plant-based diet. But another channel opened up. I had done much of my fourth year medical studies at Cook County Hospital in Chicago, the rough, tough public hospital there. And I would spend Saturday nights in the trauma unit, and I would see the worst of what humans inflicted on each other, as you well know, Linda. And I would come out of there Sunday morning just vibrating. And I knew if I couldn't get the violence out of the world, at least I wanted to get it out of my own life. So I looked into living a life of nonviolence. And I read books by Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian saints. And I really wanted to live a life of nonviolence. And one night in Vancouver, I'm out for dinner with a friend, another anesthesia resident, pontificating about living a life of nonviolence while I'm polishing off a porterhouse steak at the local Kagan Cleaver restaurant. And my friend John looks at me with great compassion and says, "That's all very nice, Michael, but if you want to get the violence out of your life, you might want to start with that piece of meat on your plate, because in satisfying your desire for that taste of flesh in your mouth, you are paying for the death of the animal and for the next one in line at the slaughterhouse." And as soon as he said that, all the old rationalizations came to my head. Well, the animal's dead already, and that's what they raised them for. But before I could get the words out of my lips, the little voice on my shoulder said, he's right. He's right. And because on the farm, I saw the old dairy cow shot in the head. I chopped the heads off chickens. I knew the violence involved in every piece of meat on our plates. It's all kept out of our view by the meat production folks, but it's a inherently violent substance. And I was paying for it, and I was keeping that assembly line going. And when I went up to pay for the meal, I felt complicit in a crime, and that was the last meat that I ate. And well, I came back to working in the operating room, and my body transformed. Boy, within 12 weeks, a 10-kilogram spare tire of fat melted off my waist. My high blood pressure went to normal. My high cholesterol went to normal. I felt great waking up in a nice lean body every day. And at that point, I knew I didn't want to be an anesthesiologist and spend my time putting people to sleep. I'd rather go back to general practice and help them wake up. So I did. I left anesthesia. I had 6 months to go in my residency, much to my parents' dismay. But I went back to general practice and found someone in my area who could give plant-based cooking lessons, and sent my patients to them. And those who could make the transition experienced the same wonderful changes. They got leaner, their arteries opened up, their blood pressure came down, their diabetes got better. And I was able to do what I was told you never can do. I had a patient call me I was on 2 blood pressure medications. He said, "Doc, I'm standing up. I'm passing out every time I stand up." And realized his blood pressure was going down to his boots. So I said those fateful words that I never thought I would say: "Stop your blood pressure medication." Well, when I said that, I thought there'd be a puff of smoke and the ghost of my internal medicine professor would appear saying, "What did you say?" And no one gets off blood pressure medication. These are lifetime medications. And but you have to. The man's going to pass out and cut his face open. And so guess what? Nothing bad happened, and he never went back on blood pressure medicine. And then I was getting similar calls from my patients with type 2 diabetes. They're dropping all this weight and their blood pressure's going down. They're having hypoglycemic reactions. So I said, "Cut your insulin in half, cut it in half." Well, now they're down to 2 units. And I said, "Well, stop your insulin. You don't have diabetes anymore." And again, I was looking for the puff of smoke there, but it never appeared. But now it's routine. All of us who practice lifestyle medicine, we all have many patients who used to have high blood pressure, used to have diabetes. These are reversible diseases. I wish someone had told me that when I was in medical school, that should be our goal, is disease reversal. I practiced medicine for 40 years before someone put those 2 words in the same sentence for me, the reversible diseases. And now medicine is fun. I'm the happiest doctor I know. My patients get healthy, as you know very well. And it's become just so fulfilling to watch our patients turn into healthy people who don't need a lot of pills and potions. I tell my patients I want to see you in 2 places and 2 places only. At the health food store, natural food store, buying your tempeh, and out on the bicycle path where I'll wave to you as we pass. And that's the only place I want to see you. Go live your life. Don't be a medical patient if you can possibly avoid it. If you hurt yourself, call me. But by and large, you really shouldn't need that much care from folks like us. So it's when you say, did I think I would be on that same path? Did I start on? Little did I know that I would that my 40-year career would bring me to speak to you, lovely people, and on this remarkable subject of making diseases go away. It's a wonderful, wonderful evolution.
What an incredible story. And I can just feel your energy across the continent, that you love your job and you feel fulfilled by it. And this is so incredible to think that so many of us are burning out as physicians because we don't see our patients getting better. And certainly with my lovely colleague Erica, we have seen the same, and we were contemplating leaving medicine for exactly this reason. When we don't see our patients getting better, we don't have a purpose as physicians in life. And it's incredible the moment when we actually heal a person, it's revolutionary. And to see them getting better, their energy getting better, as you said, getting them off of medications, it's not something that we see every single day in our current practice until we actually apply a whole food plant-based diet and lifestyle approach, which is incredible. And what an energy, Dr. Klaper. Thank you so much. Oh, do you want to ask? Mm-hmm.
And I'm turning 74 years old this July, and I feel like I did when I was 40. And I go out and I run, I ride my bike. I'm not on any medications. I'm just living my life here, and that's what I want for all my patients, not to be settled down a bunch of medical problems. That's
the way to live our lives out and die as young as we can, as late as we can, isn't it?
Well said.
You're a perfect example with you're living that example. And who to listen to more? The obese doctor who is giving you advice, or someone like you who is living it and is the embodiment of that good feeling. It's a wonderful example for all of us. But I do want to ask you, when you came off of meat, even though you knew it was the right thing, I think we heard you say that you did have meat cravings for a while. Is that right?
Oh, I did. Oh, for years I did. And I think if you've been eating meat, your mother didn't know, my mother didn't know, but when we were 6 months of age, I suspect with you too, but I know my mother opened up that jar of baby lamb and baby chicken and baby turkey, and 3 times a day I was given animal flesh to eat from 6 months of age all through infancy and the childhood and adolescence and puberty and my teen years, my 20s, my 30s. You eat meat 3 times a day for 30 years, and your biochemistry is going to kind of expect those preformed muscle nutrients, the carnitine and creatine, myoglobin fragments, all that washing through your tissues. And I think in some people, because it happens so early while our genetics are still forming as infants, that if you have these muscle-based nutrients in your tissues constantly, every few hours, our own production of carnitine, creatine, whatever, may well downregulate because we become dependent on this flow of molecules that are always in our bloodstream because we're always eating, we're always postprandial. And I think when you suddenly stop that and you draw down on your own stores of these nutrients, most folks don't have a problem. Most folks, their enzymes kick up and gear up, and they're able to do all their molecular synthesis. And the younger folks, I think, have an easier time of it. But I think some folks, as they draw down on their own stores of some of these molecules that they can be making themselves, they develop meat cravings and they eat some meat. And they feel better as all this preformed muscle nutrients wash through their tissues. And they say, see, I'm a carnivore. But what are we seeing here? This is not normal human physiology. We have basically the same digestive system that our gorilla and bonobo cousins have, and they're up in the trees eating leaves and fruit. We've got fingers on our hands, not claws. We've got big, long intestines for digesting fiber. We've got enzymes in our saliva that digest starches. We're clearly plant-eating hominids. We're not carnivorous apes. And to get back to that plant-based diet, which supplies everything we need, it's the earlier you start, the better, because the people who don't get these meat cravings are the people who've been raised as vegans since birth. I've delivered several hundred babies, and several dozen have been to vegan parents. I've watched them grow up into these lovely, healthy, vibrant people, and they don't get meat cravings. Their mouths don't water when they walk past the barbecue. They are true to their anatomy. They're true to their physiology as plant-eating hominids. And so yes, during the transition time, some folks, not everybody, most folks don't get the meat cravings, et cetera. And a lot of folks get to that point where they don't want to eat the flesh of another animal. It becomes something really unappetizing. But as I said, this is not normal physiology. This is an acquired dependency generated by feeding a human infant animal flesh 3 times a day since childhood. No other primate does that. We didn't used to do it either, but we're wealthy enough to be able to afford that in the West here at least. And so we force this dependency on growing children, and we accept it as normal. Oh, we need meat in our diet. No, we don't. But if you've been eating it 3 times a day since you were at the breast, yes, you can develop a dependency on it. And some folks takes a little work to get past it. So those folks may need to eat, and they may not be able to do a complete sudden transition. They may need to taper off like SSRIs or prednisone. You may have to take a few weeks or months to taper it off and stretch out the time in between eating it. And okay, small price to pay. But yes, meat cravings can be part of the transition.
And how did you deal with them particularly?
Oh, I found some other, what I would say, so what is it that I'm really looking for? And the vast majority of it, the biochemistry straightens itself out, but it was really looking for that salty, chewy, textury sensation of biting into that meat-like substance. And now I became vegan back in 1981, and there were not all these amazing meat-like analogs that are available now. But we had seitan back then, and we had some spaghetti sauces with texturized vegetable protein, and a couple of bites of that, and it was enough, and it satisfied my craving for it, and really it's filling up on the pasta and the veggies, and that's really what supplied the nutrition. But a little bit of that taste sensation, I found it helpful. And nowadays, with these amazing plant-based burgers and meatballs and all this stuff, it's easier and easier to satisfy that. Don't eat too much of that stuff, but a little bit from time to time. That's I think is its best use as a transition food, exactly in this situation. If one of those burgers once a week or once every 10 days helps you not go to the actual burger place, well, wonderful. I'm very grateful that those products exist now, and they must admit they're pretty tasty. We have them in our freezer here. They're going to last 6 or 8 months. I know the 4 that we have here. I have one once a month. They're fun, but that's how they should be regarded.
Absolutely. And as we are covering cardiovascular disease today, we always have to talk about cholesterol and how that is affected by our diet. What can you tell us about a meat-based diet and cholesterol? And is cholesterol really that bad for us?
No, cholesterol's got a really bad rap, a bad reputation. It's an absolutely essential molecule for our mammalian bodies. We need cholesterol to live. That's why our liver makes it. And your adrenals make cortisol out of cholesterol. Your ovaries, if you have them, make estrogen, or your testes make testosterone from it. Every cell membrane in every one of our cells, a little bit of cholesterol in it. You need this stuff. The point is, we make all that we need. We don't have to be eating some cow's cholesterol or pig's cholesterol or chicken's cholesterol. As long as you trust your liver, it knows how much cholesterol to keep in your bloodstream. And if you need more, your liver will make more of it. And if you got too much of it, it will take it out. But if you are flooding your system, not only with the cholesterol, just a load of it from all the meat and dairy that most people consume, but also, not to get too sciencey here, but we got a scientific audience, you're also eating the cholesterol with a lot of oxidizing agents. You drink the Coke with the burger, so there's high fructose corn syrup, there's phosphoric acid from the cola drinks, there's all the free radicals from the vegetable oil from the fries, there's all the processing chemicals. And these oxidizing agents are hungry for electrons, and they will rip electrons off any passing molecule, including cholesterol in your bloodstream. And so now you wind up with a whole bunch of oxidized cholesterol oxides, and cholesterol peroxides. And these particles are highly atherogenic. This is oxidized LDL. And these are the particles that burrow into the wall of the artery and set off the inflammatory reaction that results in plaque formation as a response. The people, especially cardiologists, God bless them, are so focused on these numbers. Well, what's your cholesterol? What's your particle size? What's your particle number? What's your ratio? I would like to get them all into Wembley Stadium and say, doctors, okay, you're so afraid of getting sued. You're so focused on these numbers. You become these fear-filled technicians of ricocheting off these numbers. Doctors, reclaim your heritage as biologists. This is an active, ongoing biological process, the disease of atherosclerosis. It does not occur just because your LDL is too high. These are inflammatory lesions. These artery walls are being injured. Meal after meal of the bacon and eggs and the fried chicken and the burgers and the Cokes and the alcohol and the cigarettes and all this chemical onslaught that we inflict on the inner lining of the arteries, the endothelial linings, and it rips up the glycocalyx and the endothelial linings, and it abrades the artery wall. And then the oxidized LDL particles say, oh, that's easy entrance into the wall of the artery. and the inflammatory reaction takes place, and you get this huge ulcerating plaque that ruptures and sets off a thrombus. This is a biological process. The issue is not how high is your cholesterol. It's how healthy are these arteries? What is the owner of the arteries doing to those artery walls? And we treat our bodies like recreational devices, and the same with our arteries. And so this is artery abuse, this disease. It's a sign of artery abuse. And if you stop abusing them, arteries heal. If you adopt a plant-based diet, and the only thing you're running through those arteries are rice and beans and greens and fruits and vegetables filled with phytonutrients and antioxidants that quench free radicals, that promote tissue repair, that stop the oxidative damage, the inflammatory reactions. That kind of diet gives the chemical message to the artery walls, shh, calm down, everything's okay. And we see these plaques start to regress, and we see the endothelial lining repair itself. The bone marrow is constantly putting out showers of stem cells that reupholster the inner lining of the arteries like new paving stones. And arteries heal. We've seen these spectacular photographs from Dr. Esselstyn and others that this is a reversible disease like so many of these others. So again, I would tell the cardiologist, stop being imprisoned by the fear of these numbers. Ask the owner of the arteries, well, what are you running through your bloodstream 3 times a day? Let's talk about that. Why don't you go see the plant-based dietitian? She'll show you videos, she'll give you counseling, she'll take you shopping. You do what she says, and you come back and see me in a month, and we'll recheck your markers, we'll recheck your weight, and we'll see how those arteries are doing. And they're going to be better, of course, because we're going back to our plant-eating hominid diet. The atherosclerosis is the penalty inflicted upon deviating from our natural diet. I don't think gorillas and bonobos out in the wild get atherosclerosis. They don't. There's no reason we should. They're eating leaves and fruit. It's not an atherogenic diet, so we should follow their example. I've never had a gorilla in the office saying, "Doc, I don't know what to eat. I can't keep my hands off those burgers." Never happened. They know. They know.
It does sound like we are causing a great massacre to our vessels, and it is sad to hear it and really worrying, but what's empowering here is that we can do something about it. No matter how old we are, the change is positive. We can actually, to some extent, reverse this disease, right?
Absolutely. And Linda, you hit on such a point, because our colleagues in cardiology, when the patient goes to see them, they get the exact opposite message. There's nothing you can do about this. It's just your genetics. And I loathe these 2 words. It's relentlessly progressive. Nothing can stop it. Once that type of relentlessly progressive. That's right, doctor. You don't talk to them about what they're eating. That's what you're going to see. You don't help them change their diet. That's exactly what you're going to see. It's relentlessly progressive. But it doesn't have to be. It's from what they're eating. I have a plaque in my office, it's the food, it's been the food all along. And, I wish this was hanging in every cardiologist's office there. And that's the message we really need to get across. And that's what we're doing here today. But unfortunately, our colleagues are still delivering the opposite message of what they should be. It's kind of hopeless, too bad. It's a hopeless message, but the truth is not hopeless. The truth is
absolutely
full of hope.
There is hope, and you're bringing it to us. And thank you so much for doing that. You have converted us, and so many of our patients are benefiting from your education. So it's definitely not hopeless. From slowly but surely, we're gonna get there. And it's positive. We can see the changes coming. It's our job to educate, and that's what we are doing, and we'll get there. So last Sunday, actually, we spoke to Dr. Esselstyn and saw the incredible angiograms of his patients on the whole food plant-based diet. What actually happens to these plaques that have built up in our arteries when you adopt a whole food plant-based diet. You have touched on it a bit a minute ago, but just the plaque itself, if you can get that message across after many years of building this plaque with this food, that Western diet that we are self-inflicting ourselves with, it builds up, and it can be the result that you have a heart attack from it. So once you change to a whole food plant-based diet and you start eating those delicious greens, and as Dr. Esselstyn says, 6 times a day for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe a snack at night, what does actually happen with this nitric oxide and the endothelium? How does it restore?
Okay, very, very important question. This plaque, and I wish I had a image to show you here, but most people have an idea, especially the physician audience. Let's go back to when we were, I was going to say teenagers, but even teenagers are now developing plaques in the arteries. When we were children, even then the kids have yellow streaked arteries, but back in a vegan child's arteries or a vegan teen's arteries, they're still clean and pristine. The artery walls are flat and smooth. They're covered with this gossamer, beautiful, clear membrane of the glycocalyx that allows the stream of red blood cells and the plasma to just slide along in a laminar flow. There's no eddies and swirls. It's an easy, even flow. As the standard Western diet exerts its evil effect upon the arteries. So I mentioned the artery, the endothelial lining becomes abraded, the oxidized cholesterol insinuates itself, thank you, into the artery walls here. And so the figure on the left, which is how the artery should look like all through our lives pretty much, starts looking more and more like the artery on the right, where you've got this now, they've got a linear plaque that's encroaching into the blood flow channel. Well, what's in this plaque? Well, we see that there's a lot of inflammatory process here. The macrophages are involved in inflammatory reactions. The cellular debris and the oxidized lipids bring forth an inflammatory reaction, which you see there. Well, inflammation, as we know, is by definition reversible. If you sprain your ankle, there's inflammation, but eventually it settles down if you stop the repeated trauma. So one thing that happens as we adopt a whole food plant-based diet, first of all, we stop the repeated onslaughts. And Dr. Esselstyn, saint that he is, who gets these people with end-stage vascular disease. They are so clogged up, they can't walk across the room without getting angina episodes. He gets them, we smile about the 6 times a day, but he does every few hours have them chew up some dark leafy green vegetables with a little balsamic vinegar in it, because that then sends another wave of antioxidant molecules through the patient's bloodstream, so that they're pretty much continually keeping these antioxidants in the bloodstream. And as the days go by and the weeks and the months go by, these antioxidants saturate into the plaque, and they start neutralizing the free radicals, and they help the inflammation subside, and the macrophages start to leave, they out-migrate, and so that's going to make the plaque smaller. And eventually the oxidized cholesterol crystals that are left there, it's similar to in a fast-flowing river. You have a sandbar in the middle of the river. What's going to happen to that sandbar? Eventually, it's going to wash away in the flow. There's just a steady, constant stream of water washes the sandbar away. Well, our blood flows at 25 miles an hour through our bloodstream, through those arteries. And eventually, if there's no further damage happening, and the inflammatory cells are leaving, the cholesterol crystals get washed away with the help of HDL and other molecules, and they get transported back to the liver, and the liver dismantles them or recycles them. And so these plaques really do regress as the inflammatory component and then the cholesterol crystals wash away in the blood flow. These plaques regress, and you see these spectacular before and after angiograms that Dr. Esselstyn has in so many of his patients. When you stop hitting yourself in the head with a hammer, the headaches go away, and the same thing, if you stop injuring your arteries, they heal. They don't want, the body doesn't want to maintain inflammation month after month if it doesn't have to. It wants to go back just to being arteries again. So it's the food.
Surprise, when you stop. Surprise. And may I ask you, there's something called the postprandial lipemia. Can you tell us what it is and why it's important when it comes to talking about our hearts?
Yes. I was on the cardiovascular anesthesia service in Vancouver, and a patient had been out on a day pass. He was going to have surgery in a couple of days for a 4-vessel artery bypass. And the blood drawing tech had already visited the ward. So the ward nurse asked if I would draw blood on the patient. I said, sure. So I drew a red top tube. I let it sit out at the nurse's station. When I came to pick it up to take it down to the lab, I looked in, this is what I saw. Normally your blood is supposed to look, if you eat rice and beans and greens, it looks like the tube on the left there. And your serum should be crystal clear. You can read newsprint through normal serum. But this fella had blood that looks like on the right there, it was grossly lipemic. And now not everybody shows it this optically densely. But I went back and I asked him, what did you eat while you were out? Yeah. I said, what'd you have? So I had a cheeseburger and a milkshake. And I realized what I was looking at is all the saturated fat in the beef and the butter fat and the cheese and the mayonnaise and the egg and the egg yolk and the mayonnaise on the bun and the butter fat in the milkshake. All this fat had oozed out into his blood and turned his blood fatty. And it stays this way for 5 hours. And during this time, this is when the artery walls get injured, but also obesity increases, inflammation goes up, insulin receptors get clogged, and so type 2 diabetes gets worse. Not a good thing to keep your blood lipemic, and yet bacon and eggs for breakfast and a cheeseburger for lunch and a chicken for dinner, we're wave after wave, hour after hour, where I call it the red tide, it surges through our bloodstream. And it's not healthy. No gorilla does this. No bonobo does this. So, we inflict this abnormal fuel mixture on our arteries. And if you have a nice gasoline burning sports car, but you're pouring diesel fuel, kerosene into it, what are you going to do to the gas line? What are you going to do to the spark plugs? They're going to foul up and get carbon on them. Well, you can't be surprised that the diet of the mountain lion of your house cat, injures our gorilla arteries here. It's the wrong fuel. So this is the postprandial lipemia. But again, in that, it's not just the fat. That blood is full of salt from all the processed food and the dairy, etc. It's full of sugar from all the soft drinks and the ketchup and the snack foods and all of that, and all the cooked animal protein, the oxidized cholesterols and the carcinogens and the mutagens and the new 5-TC and the endotoxin from the slaughterhouse. So, this red tide of toxic molecules floods through our tissues hour after hour. No wonder we wind up obese and diabetic and hypertensive and atherosclerotic. So I
absolutely love that analogy because I actually use it as well. I think the car analogy really gets through, especially men, when I'm trying to explain that you have a petrol car and you're going to put diesel in it. What's going to happen? Well, it's not going to run, is it? And I think simplifying the message is so important. And another thing that I hear often is, doctor, but I rather eat what I love and live a shorter life. Well, I don't really see that in emergency medicine because whoever comes in with a heart attack never tells me, well, it was worth it. The burger was worth it. But also, I would love to get the message across that a healthy, tasty diet is delicious. It is delicious. It doesn't, you
Oh,
don't have to compromise. You're just going to have these amazing new flavors in your mouth. Your tongue will be saturated with strawberries, blueberries, greens, and hearty stews made out of lentils and beans. And I just wish that people knew how tasty it was, so that they don't have to compromise on the taste nor on their health, and they can live a long and fulfilling life. Hopefully we can get that through, right?
oh, absolutely. That's so important and so well said. The beauty about a plant-based diet is that it's not only very satisfying, but you can make it in any international cuisine that you want, Asian stir fries and Indian curries and Mexican chilies, and there's no end of taste delights here. And because it's mostly fiber and water, the truth of it is, you can go back for thirds and it doesn't really matter. It's guilt-free eating, it's doing good things in your body. And back to your point about the fellow with the heart attack, as us three physicians and those who are watching well know, one of the worst things in medicine is to have a big stroke and not die. And then you spend your next 20 years in a wheelchair drooling with some pretty nurse wiping your backside because you can't reach back there with one hand. And talk about taking the romance out of a marriage, I'll tell you, nothing does it like that. Or getting your heart attack and you don't die, but you lose 2/3 your heart muscle. So you wind up short of breath going out to the mailbox and you become a cardiac cripple. The world gets very small at that point. And sexual dysfunction usually follows along with that. And our macho man suddenly doesn't feel so macho. And Mother Nature's got plenty of tricks up her sleeves to short circuit that. Well, I'll get my heart attack and die. Got to die of something, doc. Most of the folks, they don't die is the issue. And we need to get that message out very clear. While you're here, eat healthy food. So as you said, enjoy every day that we have on this precious planet. They're going by faster and faster, believe me, as you get older. Enjoy everyone. They're flashing by as you get older. Make them healthy.
And Dr. Klaper, talking about cholesterol and lipemia, here in the UK, we use something called a Q-risk. I don't know if you've heard of it. So we use the Q-risk score to look at someone's risk of developing a stroke or a heart attack in the next 10 years. And a risk of 10% means that if there are 100 identical people with the same risk factors, 10 of them will have a heart attack or a stroke in the next 10 years. And here in the UK, for somebody with a Q-risk score of 10 or more, then it's advised for their doctors to talk to them about starting statin as a primary prevention to prevent heart disease and strokes. And it seems like this is what we consider as prevention in conventional medicine. What are your thoughts on that as a preventative measure?
Oh my. I'm sure statins were developed with good intent, I suppose, but the scientific thinking behind it is just so bizarre because, none is so blind as he who will not see. It's almost dishonest in that, doc, design me a pill so I can keep eating my cheeseburgers and my fried chicken, but I can take my pill so I won't get a heart attack. And so, okay, the chemical scientists said, well, we'll just poison the enzymes in your liver that make your own cholesterol so you can keep eating all that cow and chicken and pig cholesterol. And they do. And of course, they're eating all these other oxidizing agents and all the other things that still go ahead and damage their arteries. And the people on the statins still go ahead and get their heart attacks and strokes. It's a dishonest premise from the beginning. The issue is it's the food. It's not the problem. The issue is not the enzymes in your liver making this vital molecule of cholesterol. That's not your problem. Humans have been living long, healthy lives without poisoning their liver enzymes. To think that this is now essential, well, you must take statins. No, you must stop eating other animals' cholesterol is what they ought to be saying if you're honest, doctor. And so I think there's a fundamental dishonesty and a laziness They'll say, oh, take the pill. Then I don't have to talk to you about your diet. At least you're on statins. I can't get sued because you had a high cholesterol, but I put them on statins, so I'm okay. And there's some type of dishonest laziness there. And I know these are inflammatory phrases to use with our colleagues here. But again, I think the premise is not dealing with the cause of the disease. When there was cholera in London and it's the bad air or whatever, John Snow knew it was the contaminated water from the Broad Street pump, and he cut the handle off the Broad Street pump and stopped the cholera epidemic. Get to the root of the problem, and the problem is what we are eating. If I could push a button and make all of the UK vegan tomorrow, what would happen to the incidence of vascular disease? And I know there's economic issues involved there. A lot of cardiologists would have to start doing things besides putting in stents. But do we want to heal these patients or don't we? Do we want to get our society healthier? Think of all the money that would be freed up for all the heart attacks that wouldn't happen, all the strokes that wouldn't happen. All these people would still be out paying taxes, living productive lives. There'd be money to fix the roads and do all the things you need to do, all the things we need to do here in the States. It's not a matter of, we got to keep the money flowing in the medical system. No, this is a disease care system. You want to want health care, then start with what they're eating. So back to the statins. I think when you actually grind the numbers out and you see how many years of life the statin eaters earn from taking this pill every day for 20, 30 years, it's a matter of a couple of days, I think. There's no discernible gain in life. You make their numbers better, but they still go on and die this at the same age. They still get the same amount of strokes. And Dr. Esselstyn shared a study with me saying that I think most of them showed you get about 3 extra days of life taking statins for 20 years. But if you then calculate how many minutes a day it takes to walk into the bathroom, open up the medicine cabinet, take the bottle of statins out, open it up, take out 1 pill, put the bottle back, turn on the tap, take the water, drink it, put the pill down, take the pill. For 20 years, it takes about 3 days of your life. And so the statins give you just enough time to take the statins. But they do not get to the root of the disease. It's a basic dishonesty as far as I can see. And, they help your inflammatory markers. Yeah, there's an inflammatory component to disease, but that's not getting to the heart, to the root of the disease. It's from animal eating. And let's declare peace with the animals and our arteries at the same time. That said, a caution, I have a couple of overweight vegans and one has artery disease. He had a stent from angina, and he can't keep his hands off the baked goods. He's a baker, and he makes great vegan muffins and vegan donuts, but he can't stop eating them himself. And that's not good. All that sugar is injuring his arteries as well and setting all that inflammatory response. You can't be a junk food vegan. You got to eat whole food, plant-based, rice and beans and greens and fruits and veggies. Season them up all you want, but don't be processing them into powders and flours and oils and sugars. That stuff will hurt your arteries as well.
Yeah, so you're talking about being dishonest. And what you said before we came on live was actually, it really stuck with me that not only are we not taught about nutrition, so we don't talk about it with our patients, and we're also eating the same food as these people with severe heart disease. So when we're not living this whole food, plant-based nutrition and healthy lifestyle, it's really hard for us to recommend people to do the same. And I know you've done incredible work traveling across the States, educating medical students with your Moving Medicine Forward initiative. I wondered what your reflection is from doing the work that you've been doing?
Oh, thank you for that question. I've been doing plant-based clinical medicine for 35 years. Last 8 have been at True North Health Center in California, where they do plant-based medicine in a really pure form. And we see all this wonderful disease reversal. But I would put in these long 8-9-hour days, and I would have seen 8 patients. And I've heard, Michael, this is too slow, man. The people I really need to be talking to are the medical students. Before pharmacosclerosis sets into their brain and they think that drugs and surgery are the only treatment, somebody needs to tell them what I wish someone had told me. It's the food your patients are eating. And so 3 years ago, I left clinical medicine and I've started our Moving Medicine Forward initiative, and I've been going around to medical schools in the States, but also in Canada and Mexico and New Zealand and Australia and in Europe. I spoke in London, spoke in Warsaw, and to the medical students I want to speak to. And now in every medical school class, there's 20 or 30 students. They've seen films like Forks Over Knives. They've seen What the Hell. The plant-based light is on. They just need an experienced physician to say, you're not crazy. It is the food. And I say, before you order another $1,000 scan, another $500 set of blood tests, stop. Ask your patients what they ate yesterday. Have them take you through an eating day. I mean, it's full of burgers and buffalo wings and pepperoni pizzas. That's why they're sitting in front of you, doctor. Obese and diabetic and hypertensive and clogged up and inflamed. It's not their genes. It's not their, there's a genetic component. There is. And absolutely, you need to get enough sleep and exercise. But overwhelmingly, it's the red tide. They're flooding through their tissues 3 times a day. And if you can turn that into a green plant-based tide, these diseases reverse. And somebody needs to tell them that. When I step up to the microphone, I say, I'm going to give you the lecture I wish someone had given me 50 years ago when I was a first-year medical student. It would have changed the course of my entire medical career. It would have changed every diagnosis I made, every treatment plan I recommended. Why didn't somebody tell me this? So the students are very open to this lecture. I get the most wonderful comments afterwards. So I intended to spend the rest of my career in airports and hotels and medical school lecture halls, but then along comes COVID, and suddenly I'm housebound, but the message still has to get out. So like everyone else, we will go online. And we did our 12-unit masterclass in plant-based clinical nutrition. But now, at least once a week, I appear by Zoom to hundreds of students, but lots of medical students. Let's see, where was I last week? I was at University of New England. I was at Yale 2 weeks before that, University of Pittsburgh, University of California, San Francisco, UC San Diego, University of Alberta in Calgary. So I'm appearing electronically, giving this message. And I'm happy to do it because it gets recorded. And I said, please record this lecture, play it for your colleagues, get this message out. I don't want a penny for it, get it out so people understand this. So it's now a matter of, it's trying to turn an ocean liner, getting our profession to recognize what our patients are eating has something to do with all these diseases they're bringing to us. But the public's demanding it, the students are demanding it. And I always, when I was doing live lectures, I always had a few professors in the back with their arms folded, shaking their heads, because it's heresy to them. But it's also the truth, let the truth be told, though the heavens fall. And that's the most important thing is to get this word out. And so that's why I'm so happy that we're having this lovely discussion over tea, because it's one of the most important discussions that can be had in the medical profession today. So you deserve kudos for bringing this out to your audience.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Klaper. And it's incredible that, we absolutely need to spread this message and treat atherosclerosis as well as pharmacosclerosis, right?
Indeed, absolutely.
And would you, if there are, so mainly your work is in the US at the moment, would you be lecturing medical schools in the UK, for example, if you're invited?
Oh, yeah? Please, anyone out there, I have a wide open schedule, and with the electronic magic of Zoom, yes, I'll lecture any medical student, any medical audience who wants to hear this lecture. It doesn't have to be a medical school, but I really would like that. But absolutely invite me, and I will appear there online and deliver this message of the name of the lecture is what I wished I learned in medical school about nutrition. And I'll be honored to give that to anyone who asks. Go to my website, drklaper.com, and it's all spelled out, DOCTORKLAPER.com, and click on Moving Medicine Forward and write me there. And you bet I'd be honored, delighted to give a presentation to any institution, hospital, clinic, any place who wants to hear this message. Call me.
Amazing. Amazing. So if there are any medical students in the audience, any doctors who want to educate your colleagues as well, go to Dr. Klaper's website. And Dr. Klaper, more and more, we're moving away from the paternalistic way of practicing medicine to a more kind of shared care decision, shared decision-making model. But this plant-based nutrition is rarely talked about in clinical practice, yet, and we know, why, partly why, because we're not educated about it in medical school. And this is why the work that you do is so incredibly important. Yet we have known about Dr. Esselstyn and others' work in reversing heart disease for over 30 years. Do we still not have enough evidence to push this? Or what else do you think needs to happen for it to change?
Right. The entire medical model, as you're saying, really has to change to one to really trying to keep people healthy. And so the bean counters, it comes down to money, a lot of it. The bean counters need to change the way the beans flow. And now you've got a different system than we do in the States, where everything's got to make money. We're Americans, where we're capitalists to the nines, and we have every aspirin, we want to make money off of that. You're a bit more civilized about it, but the entire inversion of the model has to be similar to what you said with your Q scores. If you have 100 people identical, quote unquote, and 10 of them have Q scores over 10, and so they're in this next 10 years, 10 of them are going to have heart attacks. Well, every heart attack that happens, or every 4-vessel bypass, at least in the States, that they do to prevent a heart attack, really. But every 4-vessel bypass costs $250,000 by the time you pay the surgeon, anesthesia, and the OR, and rehab, all of that. Well, for every heart attack that doesn't happen, the insurance company or the NHS is sitting on $250,000. Well, why? And I've had we've got plant-based insurance actuaries who saying, Doc, we'll be glad to pay the doctor $20,000 for keeping his patient healthy. We'll pay the patient $10,000 for staying healthy. And we're still sitting on almost $200,000 profit. We've got to start rewarding the doctors and the patients for staying healthy. And the whole system, and we've got money left over to do good things for college scholarships or whatever. So we've got to re-see our whole and rejigger the entire financial remuneration to make it really beneficial and profitable for true healthcare to be delivered. So we've got a lot of work, and we need the insurance folks and the accountants to step up and say, well, gee, we could do this, because the money's there. We're paying anyway. But we're paying after the cows left the barn here. We're doing disease repair. It's much cheaper to keep people healthy in the first place. And so we've got to get that message across however we have to. And there's PR and celebrities and sports figures. And a lot of people could start turning that ocean liner. We need to enlist them all.
Yeah. And reflecting on all that you have done in the last 35 years, are you hopeful for the future of healthcare
Oh, I am, absolutely. The public's demanding it, the young medical students are demanding it, and the pressure's building. I can't believe I'm saying this. You're not old enough to remember as I look at all these white hair. 3 weeks ago, I was 35. I don't know what happened, how quickly it went by, and now I've got this old man looking back at me in the mirror. But when I was growing up in the 1950s and 60s, the biggest, baddest, scariest symbol was the Berlin Wall. And we thought that was going to be there forever, the big bad Soviet Union with all those tanks, and that's never going to come down. But 20 years of commerce and Beatles music and blue jeans, and one weekend in 1989, man, we saw that wall come down. That's how quickly things can change, because people demanded that it no longer fits in this in our day and age back there. And the same thing is going to happen in medicine, where people get tired of cow out of the barn disease treatment. They're getting tired of escalating medical costs and longer lines for acute procedures, and they're going to demand it. And out of desperation, out of nothing, that we've got no other choice than start paying people to stay healthy. It will happen, and it may happen with surprising rapidity. One, in the States, it's going to take just a couple of courageous insurance companies, medical care systems in a particular city to start inverting their model and rewarding people for healthy eating and healthy diet and not getting heart attacks. And that will spread because they can see they can make money at it, and so people will adopt it. So, and as I said, may happen with surprising rapidity. So yes, I am absolutely hopeful, but just keep working at it, Dave, 1 foot in front of the other. The tortoise won the race. We'll eventually get there. Absolutely. And steps like this certainly help.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Dr. Klaper.
Absolutely incredible. I can feel the energy here, and I think you will be fueling us for many, many days to come and years. Right. And if you're new to afternoon tea, our sessions are divided into 2 sessions. Now the interview will come to an end, but those who are on Zoom will be rewarded by being able to speak to Dr. Klaper in person without the recording. But before we move on to the non-recorded informal group consultation part of afternoon tea, Dr. Klaper, you have given us so many amazing points that we can already incorporate in our lives, but would you sum that up for us to inspire our guests with 3 actionable and practical takeaways that they can implement right away to take control of their heart health and overall health?
Honor your biology. We are plant-eating creatures. Feed your body a steady stream of whole plant foods in all their colorful, delicious glory, and your body will know what to do with it. Diseases will regress. To thine own health be true, Shakespeare should have said, and so I'm saying it. So, that's by far the most important thing. Set a good example to the people in your household, people around. It doesn't matter what the peanut gallery, you're eating that rabbit food again. You just make the food taste great and eat it yourself and enjoy it and set a good example as your body transforms into a lean, healthy one and getting rid of your pills, that will get the message across. And be loving. Everybody is where they are, and your mother didn't know, my mother didn't know. We're all saddled with all the baggage beliefs we all picked up growing up, and everybody's doing the best they can. And people are scared to change what they know is familiar already, including their diet. It's easier to talk to someone about a sex change operation than a diet change. So have compassion for that. And again, be patient and with a good example, but don't compromise your beliefs either. Plants are life affirming. There's no reason for any beautiful animal to be killed for your lunch. So let every meal be a healing one, not only for your arteries, but for our society, for the animals, and for the planet. Every meal matters, and know that. And so make that a wonderful plant-based meal, make you healthy, and make a statement to those around you, and everything will get better from there.
Wow, that's super poetic and powerful at the same time. Thank you so much, Dr. Klaper. Where can our audience connect with you and learn more about your work? I think you have quite a few website, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Is that correct?
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Klaper, and go to my website, drklaper.com, and just Google Dr. Klaper. Believe me, I'll show up there. Privacy has long evaporated, so I'm glad to be so accessible. So
we have shared all of your links here in the comments, and we'll put it on the YouTube channel as well. So next Sunday, we have Dr. T. Colin Campbell, I think an old friend of yours. He will be joining us for afternoon tea. He's the author of the Grand Prix of Nutritional Studies. As always, all events are free here in the afternoon tea, and you can register via our website for the Zoom link or watch us on a live stream on YouTube or Instagram. You can connect with us and say hello on Instagram at Afternoon Tea with Docs, and also on Facebook as well, and we can continue this chat there. So our May events are dedicated to raise very much needed donations to help India breathe. If you enjoyed this session, please consider donating to our Just Giving site that supports two incredible charities on the ground, bringing oxygen and food to those who are most in need. The donation link is here in the chat below, or you can see it on the description of this event on YouTube. Really much appreciate your donations, and really it was lovely having you guys here.
And you can become a free Afternoon Tea with Docs member on our website to continue this conversation and join the supportive community, helping you to implement the healthful lifestyle changes you want that will help you live a long and healthy life. Please do comment in the chat your thoughts and feedback from today. And for those of you watching on YouTube, please do comment below and let us know how we're doing. For those of you on Zoom, you feel free to stay behind and chat with Dr. Klaper. And for those of you joining us on live stream, thank you for listening and have a lovely evening.
Thank you.